Can this whole video just be dedicated to how cool my shirt is? Because I got this bad boy a couple days ago and I have not wanted to take it off. I'm obsessed. Look at little Michael just riding his skateboard. Oh my god, wait, I got another one. Look how fucking funny this shit is. Like, these are the best shirts I've ever purchased in my entire life. But hey y'all, I got them at Box Lunch for anyone who's gonna ask. They don't have this one on the website. I had to go in store to purchase this one, but I know they have the Scream one. But if you don't have a Box Lunch around you, I'm so sorry because you're missing out. You really are. This is amazing. I'm back and I have more of your guys' stalker stories that I'm excited to read. Okay, we're gonna try out one of your new phrases today that one of you gave me. It's spooky, scary stalker time. That works. Honestly, that's fine. So I went through the subreddit and I found a couple Let's Not Meet stories that I'm excited to read. I think almost all of the ones that I picked out have something to do with either sex trafficking or kidnapping. I feel like a lot of the stories you guys send me, that's what they relate back to. And I actually saw a tweet earlier. Let me read it. It was a girl who said, "Some ladies walked up to me in Chinatown, DC and asked me to go to Bible study. Twitter told me that's how they induct people into sex trafficking. I'm here to tell y'all it's real. Told the bitch I was atheist and she said, oh, well that's okay. It's not actually about God." And then I went on the subreddit and I found all of these stories and it's so fucking scary. It's crazy. Like, this happens to everyone. Or at least it feels like it happens to everyone. And I think I want to film an entire video about experiences like that girl had. Like all the different signs or maybe the different stories, the different ploys that people have to get you. I don't know. Tell me if you want that, because I won't do it if you don't. But let's get started. The first story says human trafficking in the mall. And all the ones I picked out are fairly long, so we'll see how many we get through. I started working at a small noodle shop at the mall. Some days the mall would be very crowded and other days it'll be really slow. Now the job I worked at didn't really have customers, probably one customer or two every 2 hours or so. This one day I was working alone because I needed the extra cash and I was gonna work an overnight shift. The mall that day was almost empty and we were about to close. Before closing I went to the Wendy's restroom. Everything was fine until I was stopped by a man. This man was about 5'8" and well dressed, in dress pants and a cardigan, as if he worked somewhere professional. He had glasses on as well. He stops and asks if he could ask me a question. I didn't want to be rude and he looked like a nice man. And my job didn't really get busy, so I told him sure, but I have to go soon, and he nodded in response. He said he saw me coming in and how I fit perfectly with his office he just opened. It was near the area and he was looking for employees and he thought I fit in. If anyone ever tells you that like your appearance or the way that you look is perfect for a certain job or situation, don't trust it, okay? He then asked for my number and where I lived, and this is when another man came next to him staring at me, taking a whole view of my body, making me feel very uncomfortable. I'm only 16 and the shit was really weird because they were grown-ass men in an almost vacant Wendy's, and nobody seemed to notice that I was getting a bit uncomfortable as they began to ask further personal questions. I told him I already have a job and I wasn't interested as I work at the mall. He asked where I work and my dumbass said the job I work at, not even thinking, and I hate myself for it every day. I mean, honestly, at least you didn't tell him where you live or your phone number. And I feel like if he saw you coming into the mall, or I guess, did he see you coming into the Wendy's or into the mall? Because I feel like if he was watching you, I mean, he probably knew anyways. I know that's scary and I probably shouldn't say that to freak you out, but like if he was watching, like, I don't know, I'm just saying. Be careful, please, I love you. He said I will stop by before leaving and my mind was like, why? I just rejected your offer. I then left and I started working as it got busy and I totally forgot about the situation. It was closing time, so I was cleaning the front of the shop. I noticed this guy with long hair who was with the same two guys from earlier, and they were dressed similar as the other guy. It made their appearance seem like they were well off or people who make money. They were eating the samples and just eyeing my every move. I started putting everything away and the guy with long hair started asking me questions about the sample and calling me names like Mamacita and speaking to me in Spanish and not even speaking about the food but other things. I felt very unsafe as he kept calling me Mamacita, like, Mamacita, why don't you answer me? Why are you shy? He was getting very close to the glass and I said I'm busy working. I turned my back towards them and I picked up my phone, just pretending to be on it. A mall cop passed by and when I turned around they were gone. Also, why are you, okay, like, why was your manager okay with you working alone when you're 16 years old? Like, I feel like you should never have to work by yourself, just in general, but especially with how young you are, like, that's so dangerous. Like, what are you supposed to do if something happens? Also, they started blowing leaves. Oh my god. It's been a long time since one of my videos have been interrupted by leaf blowers. Can you not? I saw them in the far distance as they turned once more to look at me, and they were all gone. I haven't seen them for a long time, and I never told anybody about it except for my friend, and she just told me to be more careful. I remember once I was working, and I saw the same man who approached me in the start talking to a younger girl like me. I don't think he saw me, but I hid. What scares me is that he was wearing the same outfit and glasses, and that made me think a lot. What if he's involved with illegal things? Why is he approaching random younger girls rather than older people? Weeks passed, and I was working with my other coworker. She was cleaning the front, and I went to the back storage room to clean up a bit. I took longer than usual as there were a lot of dishes to clean. As I came out of the back room, I noticed that my coworker was still there, and she usually leaves after she's done, so I was surprised. When I approached her, she told me how somebody was looking for me. I was like, what? Who? She said an older man who was tall and described him even more. I told her I didn't know anyone of that type. She said how he was wearing office clothes and glasses, and that's when a light bulb turned on in my head. She said he was sitting in a chair, and she told him I was cleaning the back, and he responded with, I'll wait for her. He was by himself sitting there for 10 minutes before she lied and said I left just to make him leave. And he said how he'll just come by next time. I was beyond scared as to why they were following me around. My coworker said she didn't feel safe to leave me alone, so she waited for me, and I thank her for that. After that day, my cousin came over and I told her about the situation. She was shocked and told me how her friend had a similar experience in another mall, and she was pulled aside and asked if she wanted a job and that she fit their expectations. That's so weird. She told me how it later blew up how human trafficking was happening in the local malls around my area. She told me how I should have told my mother or my boss about it, and how I should have done something because if my coworker wasn't there, who knows what could have happened. The next week I quit my job because I didn't feel comfortable, as I kept encountering weird experiences every time I worked alone. I could have been human trafficked, and that scares me so much to think about, and to this day I'm still scared to ever see that man again. First of all, I'm very happy that you quit your job. I feel like it's not worth it at all. Like, you could easily find something else. 2, I feel like you definitely should tell your boss though, just as a warning in case they hire anyone else who's younger and they make them work alone like that. Like, they can't be leaving people alone, especially if that stuff is happening. 3, please tell your mom, tell your mama, tell someone other than me. I appreciate you telling me, but like, that's fucking terrifying. I'm very happy that you're okay. And this one, honestly, it seems kind of similar. It says creep arrested for intent of kidnapping outside of my job. They said, hey Courtney, I love your videos, and I'm hoping you can read this to bring awareness to the subject of kidnapping, whether it's for sex trafficking or not. I think it's so important to be aware of your surroundings, even if you do come across a little bit paranoid. It's better to be safe than sorry. Also, this is long. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. About a year ago, I was working at a local credit union as a call center rep. Basically, my job was to answer phone calls that came from the outside and either perform a banking service over the phone, asking a series of identifying questions, or direct the calls to where they needed to go. I wasn't fond of the job, as it came to be incredibly tedious, and more often than you would think, there were definitely creepers on the other line looking to entertain themselves, if you know what I mean. I worked in a call center. Trust me, I know what you mean. I'll tell you just for context that though being a call center rep sounds easy, it's not usually, especially when working for a financial institution. You're expected to identify a person in a very particular manner, over the phone perfectly each time, and you take about 80 to 100 calls a day. You're expected to pretty much know every answer possible with little to no help from management or other departments, even if the questions had nothing to do with your call center department's skill set. Often you'll handle requests from members that can potentially put accounts at risk, so you need to be diligent and on your toes on every single call. It's also important that I note at the call center I worked at, it was not accessible to the public, ever. We had to swipe special badges to get in and out of the building, and there were multiple door points that you had to enter or leave the building through. One particular winter day, I had been scheduled 11 a.m. to 7:45. It was a long and grueling shift, especially because most phone calls came in between those hours. The lucky ones would have left for the day at about 4:30, just when the calls were beginning to pick up. I had made it through all of my shift with little to no issues, other than the usual nonsensical calls, save for some incredibly stressful wire transfers I had to make over the phone. 7:25 rolled around just as scheduled, and I was getting ready to place myself in the research auxiliary to signal that I was done with my calls for the evening when my phone rang. Rolling my eyes, I picked up the call hesitantly. As soon as I hit the green answer button, I remember feeling my stomach drop with regret, like I should have just let it go to the answering service. On the other end, I was immediately met with the sound of heavy breathing. I remember hearing my pre-recorded greeting play over my headset. Hello, thank you for calling the contact center. This is Britt. With whom do I have the pleasure of speaking with today? As soon as my recorded greeting ended, I was hit with rapid-fire questions by a man. At first, they were normal run-of-the-mill banking questions. How much is in my checking account? Did this bill come out of my account today? Is my payroll scheduled to come into my account this Friday? I answered all of the simple questions so quickly and politely as possible. Then the questions got weird. What is the interest rate on my checking account? If you know anything about finance, you know the interest that you accrue on your checking is slim to none. Pennies a month, if that. So it's definitely not a question I was ever asked, even after working there full-time for a year. Taken aback by the question, I gave him the answer. There was a long pause, and the next questions he asked still haunts me to this day, because I have no idea why he would possibly need to know these things. What is the temperature right now? Outside, I asked? No, of the room you're in right now. What the fuck? This is already weird. To which I responded, I'm not sure. Standard room temperature? He made an annoyed sound and then asked another invasive question. Where are you located? Are you located on? The name of the correct road the call center was located on. At this point, I was really freaking out. I'm a paranoid person in general, but these questions just didn't feel right. I tried to convince myself that he could just maybe be multitasking or even under the influence. My paranoid self tried to professionally throw him off the trail I suspected he could be on. Yes, that's where the call center is located, but it's not accessible to the public. If you'd like, I can direct you to the closest branch to you based on the address. He ignored me and asked me his last question. What time do the employees leave the building that you're in? I replied, we stopped taking calls at around 7:30, but I cannot tell you what time the employees leave. He ignored my answer and began asking descriptive questions rapid fire. How tall are you? How old are you? What's your last name? Startled, I began to say that I couldn't list that information for security purposes, but before I could get my last word out, he disconnected the call. I remember shutting down my system and telling my cubicle neighbor about the conversation and just explaining that I felt off. Unfortunately, my coworker dismissed what I had to say as just another loony member of the bank, and we giggled a little bit, but I was still panicked and I had trouble catching my breath. We're required to stay another 15 minutes to help managers close shop if necessary. I used that time to go to the restroom and take a breath, as I still didn't feel put at ease. When I went back to my desk to get my things to leave, my parking lot buddy was waiting for me. Luckily, we had a buddy system in place, and it was pretty much pitch black outside, and my job had one mere lamppost that barely lit the parking lot. My coworker and I headed for the door. Between the outside and our area that the call center was in, there are 5 sets of secure doors. It sounds excessive, but it's because financial institutions need to be incredibly secure, especially the center point of the bank. The call center was where everything was kept, which was again why the public was not allowed inside. I was just about to swipe my badge through the last set of doors and step outside when one of the supervisors came running behind us and slammed into me. Startled, my coworker asked him what he was doing. He blocked the door with his body, not allowing my coworker or I to leave. With a frantic look in his eye, he said, "Do not leave. We just received a call from the police that there's a man in tattered clothing walking around the building with a knife looking into the windows. I have them on the line and they'll tell me when it's safe." I don't remember saying anything else but bringing up the call to my coworker and saying I knew something didn't feel right. After a solid 45 minutes of waiting for the coast to be cleared, the suspect was taken into custody by the police. On the way to my car, I walked by the police car that held him. I could see him clearly through the window as the police car windows weren't tinted. I don't think I'll ever forget the look on his face. As I passed him, he gave me the creepiest grin. His eyes were so dead. It was as if his mouth was trying to make up for the lack of emotion his eyes had. It still gives me chills to this day. The next day, I talked to my manager who had frantically stopped us from leaving the night before. He told me the guy had been arrested with the intent of kidnapping. Basically, when the police looked into the guy's background, they found out the bank that I was working for had repossessed his car and his house, and his wife had left him as a result. He was charged with intent of kidnapping because the cops found questionable items on him when he was arrested. In the trunk of his car were 3 bundles of rope, a box of medical-grade gloves, a hacksaw, and duct tape, which was parked in the back lot of the call center. He was also wielding a 6-inch knife when he was arrested. I still have no idea what he was planning to do with these items, nor do I know what he was capable of. I don't think he was directly intending on coming after me specifically, but it sounds as though he was looking for any call center employee to take hostage and who knows what else. Immediately, I brought up the weird phone call to my management, the risk mitigation department, and security team. Unfortunately, the call wasn't really taken seriously by my job. I don't think they even looked into the call. Even though I feel in my gut the phone call and the situation were definitely connected. I feel like that's not even questionable, like they were 100% connected. I wonder a lot about what would have happened if the police hadn't been tipped off about this guy running around the building with all of those items in his possession. There's still a lot of unanswered questions I have. I'll never forget the bad gut feelings I got. It's important to listen to those, no matter how ridiculous they can seem at the time. The guy who was arrested for intent of kidnapping outside my call center, let's not meet. I wonder what happened to him. Like, are there any news articles that we could look at to see if he's still in custody or what? I don't know, like, I would hope that he got arrested and, like, put in prison, but I mean, you never know. You never fucking know. But I want to know. I need to know. Oh my god, the same fucking thing. I mean, I'm glad that you're okay. This shit is so scary. And this doesn't make it any better. This one says, creepy old ass man that made my life hell. Let's not ever meet again. When I was around 20 years old, I was working for a grocery store in a small town. By this point, I had worked for the store for a year and I was going on my 2nd year there. I honestly really enjoyed working there, but the amount of crazy people I had the pleasure of meeting was unfathomable. One of the stories that sticks with me the most is about the old man who stalked me until I quit. This all started because of a post I saw on Facebook. Just to give you a little insight on me, I'm seriously socially awkward. It's honestly crippling. I'm shocked I even have a husband or a son. My husband thinks it's cute that I shove my foot in my mouth and make myself look like an idiot. I find it mortifying and would rather not talk at all. I feel that. The post on Facebook said, if you have a hard time talking to people, just ask about their animals. It makes people light up and it's a comfortable conversation for both people. Not exactly on quote, but it sums it up, so I thought I would try it at work. I'd be able to connect with customers and an easy conversation is right up my alley. Man, was I wrong. So the next day, I was facing an aisle, aka making an aisle look nice, which you probably know, when a man in his late 50s, early 60s came up and asked for help. He was trying to find something, so I led him to it, and on the walk to the item, I was like, ba-bam! Let me woo this man with my conversation skills. So I asked about his animals. This man proceeds to rip his phone from his pocket and start showing me all of his animals, which is honestly like it's cute. Like that's a cute thing at first, but I'm scared to see where it's gonna go. Which is great. I love that he loves his animals, but he continued to talk to me about them for the next hour to hour and a half. Also, his breath smelled like death. I was trying to be polite, so I let him go on and on and on. I led him back to the front, checked out his items, and carried his groceries to his car. In this small town, it's mandatory to carry people out to their car, especially if they're old, pregnant, or have kids with them. The whole time he was talking, I couldn't stop thinking to myself, damn, I didn't think the tip on Facebook was going to work that well. So he finally leaves and I go back to work. I didn't have any concerns. I mean, come on, he was just an old man and he's probably lonely. So about 2 days go by and he's back again. I was strictly a cashier that day, so I didn't see him walking around the store right away. I only notice this man when he comes up to my register lane, which is completely fine. But while I'm checking out the person in front of the old man, I turn to get their change out of my cash drawer. And when I glance up, the old man is leaning as far as he can over my belt, the place you put your groceries on, and is seriously 4 inches from my face. Again, his breath smelled so bad, which only added to my uneasiness. Safe to say, I was shocked. So the guy in front of him leaves and I check out the old man's stuff, and I tell the person bagging his stuff to carry this old man out. I think my computer just turned on? Cool, I love being haunted. He begins to throw a fit because he wants me to do it. So fine, I did it. What he just did before was creepy, but walking him out to his car is no big deal. It'll be fast, whatever. No, he stops me and makes me sit in the sun for 30 minutes talking to me about God knows what. But it's my job to be nice to people, so I suffer through it, thinking it's no big deal. Now I'm gonna jump into all the crazy ass shit I went through with this man now that you have the background story. That was just the background? I'm not ready. So after about a month of this guy always coming to my register, coming inches away from my face every time I'm checking his items out, him trying to grab my hands when I would give him his change back, making me carry out for him, and also following me around the store, I still kept it all to myself and I brushed it off. But one day I was a bagger for my friend, and I told her to watch how creepy this old man was to me. Once he laid eyes on me, he came straight to register 2, the register that my friend and I were on. He set his shit down and began walking to the end of the register where I was, and stopped when he was about a foot away from me. I looked at my friend, telling her with my mind like, watch this, and I took a step away from him. The man mirrored my steps, and he was now where I was standing moments ago, at the end of the register, and I was now standing behind the register with my friend, who was still ringing him out. Old ass man was still coming towards me and was now trying to grab my arm. You bet your ass I ditched my friend and old ass creeper to run to the back of the store. I mean, he was weird, but I didn't think he was gonna go that far. Time skip, I told everyone how I felt about old ass man and what he did to me on register 2. So after that, the second he came into the store, I would run to the back of the store to my boss's office, and I would watch him on the cameras until he left. It always freaked me out watching him on the cameras because I knew that he was looking for me. He would go up and down every aisle and grab one random ass thing and then leave. And the second he would leave, I would come to the front. Well, old ass man figured out that he would buy his things and then drive to the front of the store and slow down as much as possible so he could peek into the store windows and try to find me. And one day while he was doing his creepy ass drive-by, he finally finds me through the window and gives me the creepiest ass look. All the cashiers at the front saw him do this. They agreed that it was very creepy. So after a month of me praying to the heavens that he wouldn't come into the store, my manager told me to buck up, even when she saw him do these weird ass things to me. So I did. I bucked up, and I told her to sit and watch the shit show. So the next time he came into the store, I told another worker to get on my register so I wasn't trapped, and I would bag for them. Well, my trick was I would stay at register 1, wait for old ass man to put his shit down, wait for another person to get in line behind him, if there was anyone else in the store that is, and then I would book ass to register 3, far the fuck away from this man and bag for that register. Well, this technique worked for a while until old ass man had enough. He would scream my name and yell at me to go and help him all the time. Blank, 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 come here, get over here now. Then he would come to grab me and I would ignore his ass and walk or run to the back. Still, my boss and manager did absolutely nothing. That's fucked up. Even if they don't think it's that big of a deal, you're still clearly uncomfortable, and it's not like he's in there once a month or whatever. Like, he's in there every fucking week or every day. Like, they have to do something about it. And by now I found out that I was pregnant with my son, and I couldn't help but feel even more paranoid. Now, if old ass man does anything stupid, it doesn't just affect me, it also affects a little person who has nothing to do with this crazy man. So I would dodge this old man hard. I was not making any slip-ups until I was about 6 months pregnant. Also, I'm a really small person, so I didn't start showing until I was about 7 months. I would just throw jackets on and whatnot so old ass man wouldn't know. The other reason I was so protective of my little child and didn't want people knowing I was pregnant was because even though I was 20, if people found out, they were ruthless. Like, one man legit told me to kill my son. You know, there are other options is what he said. Like, who says that to someone? I was graduated and about to be married. Who the fuck cares if I'm pregnant? And also, it doesn't matter. You could be like 16, and if you want to keep the baby, keep the fucking baby, but like, don't have sex, kids, when you're 16. But like, it's like no one's business no matter what you do. Like, it shouldn't fucking matter regardless. Then they said, even if I was in high school or whatever, who the fuck cares? It's not affecting you. But working at this place, people thought they could say whatever they wanted about my pregnancy. Sorry about the rant. Still bugs the shit out of me. Honestly, it bugged me too because I went on that rant before I even read that part. Back to the story. So I was being so safe until I made a slip up. Old ass man came into the store and I avoided him like crazy. It was a success. He checked out and was about to leave when a cashier said some older lady forgot her meat at the front. So old ass man goes out to his car and puts his shit away, and I'm thinking I'm good to be in the front. He's gone. There's nothing to fear. Wrong. I grabbed the meat to start walking it back to the butcher shop. We put her name on it, gave her a call, and I was only putting it in the butcher shop freezer so it wouldn't go bad before she got there. Well, old ass man apparently knows her personally, and when he saw me walking my ass to the butcher shop, he took off after me. I told him it was fine. We called her and that she was coming to get it. He continued to follow me to the back room where he's not allowed to go, and into the butcher shop, which made my heart drop because he trapped me into a smaller room and nobody was in there. I set the meat down on the counter because I knew the butcher would put it away, and I tried to escape out of the only door that you could enter and exit that room from. He blocked the exit with his arm and started pushing me back into the room until the butcher suddenly came out of the freezer that was connected to the butcher shop. I didn't know he was in there, but when he walked out, I was so thankful. The butcher slid himself between me and the old ass man and asked him if he had a problem. I took this opportunity to slid my ass back through the door the old ass man was blocking before the butcher came in, and I ran like hell. I would literally be bawling my eyes out at this point. After that incident, old ass man left me alone, or I thought anyway. So at this store, all the employee schedules are posted in the front of my boss's office. His office is in the back room. But if you go back there, anyone can see the schedule. And one day, I saw the old ass man back there, looking at my schedule. What the actual fuck? Every Friday after that day, old ass man would park his car at the back of the store and wait for my shift to end. It was an early shift. I came into work at 7 a.m. and my shift would end around 4. What scared the shit out of me was I wasn't the one that figured out that the old ass man was waiting outside for me. It was another employee who would have her smoke break in her car. She was having her smoke break when she noticed that old ass man was driving back and forth and then parked semi behind another person's car. He wasn't in the employee parking lot, but right next to it, by the curb. Well, when she saw his bitch ass, she ran towards him screaming. He drove away fast as fuck. After that, nobody let me walk to my car alone. At least one person always took me to my car. No one cared if it was day or night. I quit 1 month later. Not because of old ass man, but because I was going to give birth to my son the next month. But knowing I would never have to see this old ass man again definitely did not make me sad. So to the old ass man who harassed me and made my work a living hell until I quit, let's not ever meet again. Oh my god. I'm like genuinely in shock at the things that happened to you guys. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And for the third time, I am so glad that you're okay. That butcher story is gonna be imprinted in my brain for the rest of my life. Oh my god, what the fuck? All you wanted to do was ask about his little animal. All you wanted to do was know if he had a dog, and then this man ended up stalking for the rest of his life. That's why I'm never gonna speak to another human being ever again. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you to everybody who has shared their stories with me. If you have other stories that you would like to share, I'll have the subreddit link down below. But I'm gonna go isolate myself away from society. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye! Can someone make me a t-shirt with me on like a little skateboard that says Slasher? Like, make me as like a little Michael Myers. Can someone do that? You guys are talented. I'm not talented, so I can't do that. But I really want my own shirt like this. That'd be kind of cool, like for Halloween, like Halloween merch. Okay. We gotta do it. We gotta do it. We gotta do it. See ya.